Like an hour workshop at the Museum of Modern Art.
Oh,
Uh,
wonderful.
yeah, so
Oh, that's so
I gotta
exciting.
get my PowerPoint together tonight, and then pack my bags and everything.
Oh my gosh, that's soon. Well, I'm really grateful to you for squeezing us in when you're getting ready to go on a big trip like that. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's always fun to travel.
Yeah. Are there a lot of people, other poets with you in the workshop, or are you teaching young
Uh,
poets or?
yeah, there's 8 new poets that are on board, and then 8 returning poets from like Hawaii, Guam, Navajo Nation. Even the Navajo Nation poet laureate's going to be on the. His name's Jake Skeets. He's on the faculty, and then Kimberly Blazer. She's the founder of INAPO. So quite a few. Yeah, I'll be the faculty. So it's like about 25 of us, 30 of us that are all together, and so we're all writing together, doing workshops, and going here and there to different events. So it's this year the theme is visual poetics and spirit lines. So I'm gonna bring one of my pottery that talks about the spirit line, and I also write about some of the pots. You hear one of my poems, "Flowers in the Deer House." That's actually a poem that I wrote about pottery, big pottery bowl that's at the School of Advanced Research.
Fantastic. Oh, exciting. All right. Well, let's see. We're just right about at 4 o'clock, and it looks like
Okay.
people are joining us. So I'm going to go ahead and start with some general updates before I introduce our speaker today. So thank you to everyone who is joining us now. We are Crow Canyon Archaeological Center here in the Four Corners Research and Education Center, and many, many programs that if you don't already know about, you can find out on our website. On our Zoom today, you can put questions in the Q&A section at any time. You can also put them in the chat. We'll look for them, but we get to them more easily if they're in the Q&A. We're not streaming on Facebook yet, but we are still working on it. But you can also go back and see most of our prior webinars on our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. As always, we'd like to start with some acknowledgments. Crow Canyon acknowledges the Pueblo, Ute, Paiute, Dene, and Jicarilla Apache people on whose traditional homelands our campus sits. With the work we're doing at Crow Canyon, we seek to bring light into the darkness of memory that these lands, waters, wildlife, and her descendants hold as a result of policies of removal, genocide, and displacement. We seek paths that support and align with Indigenous people and communities, and with gratitude, we honor the contributions of present-day Indigenous communities, descendants, and the colleagues with whom we partner who guide our work and our mission every day. This is an entirely free webinar series that's only made possible through your donations, so a huge thank you, as always. And as always, a tribute to the founder of our series, our dear friend and colleague, Taylor Hasbrook, pictured here in one of our Chaco Canyon trips. Thank you to Taylor for making this possible for so many people and for all of you who continue to make it financially possible for us. And on that note of making things financially possible for us, a huge celebration today. Thank you to everyone for your generosity. We had a matching challenge from one of our former board members who offered up $50,000 if we could raise $50,000 to help us replace some of our lost federal funding for programs from National Science Foundation and others to help us continue to do our research and education programs. And this, after last week's webinar, we met our goal. So enormous thank you to all of you who help make everything that we do at Crow Canyon possible. And this is such a big deal for us to be able to capture that matching grant. So thank you to the Greenlee Family Foundation, and thank you to all of you who helped us reach this incredible goal. We do have some programs coming up, some in-person programs if you want to get beyond just your digital friendships with us. We have a short program, a 3-day Indigenous Foodways workshop coming up in August. There's still some spots left for that. If you joined us last week for the movie about Glen Canyon and Lake Powell and what's happening there, and we're intrigued by that, we have some spots left on the in-person trip through Glen Canyon, again, with our Hopi friend and colleague, scholar, archaeologist Lyle Belenqua. And then pushing towards November, if you plan a little bit farther out, we have some amazing journeys through southern Arizona and indigenous cultures, past and present there. We do not have a webinar next week on the 31st, but please join us in the 2 weeks following. We have Autumn Gillard, amazing Paiute scholar, talking about Nuwu astronomy views. And then the week after that, on the 14th, we have Advancing Practices to Support Ethical Data Management in Archaeology, which is a huge topic in archaeology that is something we talk about every day here at Crow Canyon and is influencing our work and our planning going forward too. So some really incredible talks coming up. So without further ado, I just want to say how honored we are today to be joined by Max Early to share his poetry and thoughts with us, which reflect a deep connection to his Laguna Pueblo culture, art, family, community, and language. Max Early is an inaugural fellow of Indigenous Nations Poets and obtained his M.F.A. in creative writing from the Institute of American Indian Arts and his B.A. in English from the University of New Mexico. His recent poems have appeared in Poets.org, Academy of American Poets, Poetry Northwest, Poetry Magazine, Green Linden Press, and several other publications. His first book is Ears of Corn, Listen, and his second manuscript will proceed to publication this summer. In addition to his literary accomplishments, he is also an accomplished Laguna Pueblo potter, and we will get to see some of his pottery at the end of this presentation as well. Welcome, Max, and thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Benjamin. It's a great honor to be here, and I'll go ahead and say a few words in my native language too, just to express gratitude. Kwatsi sai hopa sawi temisha da etse kamuna. Kuishi so hinomet Tsina Hanu Kwa-ya Washch'ee Shro hina achak. So hello everyone, I'm Max Early, and I'd like to go ahead and get started reading from my first book, which is Ears of Corn, Listen. The first poem I start off is called How You Got Your Name, and it's a poem I wrote for my son Alan. And I built a cradle board for him, and his grandfather from Cochiti saw his cradle board, and when he saw his cradle board, he was given his native name, Kashatsi, which means rainbow. So this is How You Got Your Name for Alan. One tree struck by lightning, fashioned into a cradle board. Protect my little one. 3 tall river willows chosen, shaped and bent like an arch. Keep my baby safe. 4 buckskin loops on each side, zigzagged laced belt like lightning. Hold my child secure. 6 colors of the sun sought, sewn beads around your willows. Comfort my son to sleep. Grandfather said, your cradle board was charming, so we named you Kashatsi, Kashatsi, rainbow, my rainbow. Next poem I read, these are more family poems, and this poem speaks about my mom and her 2 sisters, my 2 aunties, and on our mother's side, our aunts are also called our mothers, and our aunts on our father's side are called our sakuyas. They have a special duty through our clan. But on our mother's side, this is called matrilineal winter, and it speaks about the houses and how they're passed down to the family. Traditionally at Laguna, the house was given to the oldest daughter. At Acoma, the house was given to the youngest daughter. The house belonged to Grandma Marie, given to her oldest daughter, Jane. Soon Jane gave Sister Clara the family home. 3 sisters in their winter share their mother's house. They are Orion's belt, wintry sister stars. 3 stars softly fading, reminisce festal shadows. Mom's chili stew cooking, 7-Up in the Frigidaire. 3 sisters embrace home, but not like they used to. Keep moving around, more aches flare. What do we do with your house, Mom? We feel bad that you're getting old. We'll help you when we can. We miss the old Jew. serious oldest daughter, humorous middle girl, cheerful youngest baby, wintry sister stars. When I first started making pottery, my grandmother, my mom's mom, gave me a polishing stone. And there's 4 Keres words, Laguna words in this poem. Tsina is river. Mame anye mekusa means you sure know how. It's really nice. Tashkana is the old pottery shards. And Mucka is a gourd dipper. Grandma Linda's polishing stone. Before I began to work with Laguna clay, I was told only women could make pottery. Traditional ways heated by my grandmother. Yet she gave me one of her polishing stones she'd sought from a bed of cool Tsina water. This entrusted gift soon sparked my fire. A dying tradition urges intent and artistic fire. Curiosity in me revealed the charisma of clay. Determined and self-taught, I built a large water olla to honor the matriarchs of Pueblo pottery. Breaking gender taboos didn't turn me to stone. I had an approving smile from my grandmother. Mami anya mekusa, said grandmother. Now find someone to teach you how to fire. You can also use any one of my grinding stones to crush and crumble tashkana and clay. Remember, your spirit is part of the pottery, just as clouds cradle life through rainwater. She said, when it rains, let's collect fresh water. I watched wrinkled hands of my grandmother gather rain from barrels with bowls of pottery. Bring them inside while I warm up by the fire. Now pour some rain in the powdery gray clay. Treasure this mud dough like a precious stone. Not long ago, we used corn cobs and sandstone to smooth wares later wiped down with water. We burnished only at daytime, slip of white clay. Many customs grow old like your grandmother. When I'm gone, feed me when you built a fire. Stay diligent and obtain patience with pottery. When she departed, I gave her my first pottery, lustered white with my heirloom riverstone. We collected and burned her clothes in the fire. Her mucka still hanging where she'd ladled water. Musing continuum with my dear grandmother, displaying her ways of working with our clay. My grandmother knew I would fall in love with clay. Holding reddish brown stone, I buff my initial fire. Ritually smashing pottery, she sends us wondrous water. One of the first poems I wrote when I was doing my undergrad at University of New Mexico, back in 2012, I went to this Taos Summer Writers Conference, and that's where I met my editor of my first book. And this poem was one of the poems I wrote, and speaks of the deer and the sacredness of the deer and how they bring us sustenance. And so it's not just going out hunting, but it's how it blesses the people, and we even have our own dances to commemorate the deer spirit. In the black blue hue of sunrise dawn, in the black blue hue of sunrise dawn, Mother Fire keeps me warm. I pray and breathe on the dry flowers, an offering to the deer spirit. Consumed by the flame, my prayer goes up in smoke. Rainbow full of colors for the deer to see. They say, Mupuch, Kashtsi, Gayanye, Shro Ekoshe. Look at the beautiful rainbow. Let's go over there. Climbing the hill in pursuit, fresh deer tracks everywhere. Directly in front of me, Gait Bishro. The rays of sunrise glisten on the antlers. We have found the rainbow. Now it's time to go home. Home to the mountain lion, singing hunting songs of praise, honor and tribute to the deer. Corn pollen prayers scatter in the wind. Bless us again, dear spirit. I'll switch over to some new works that'll be in my second manuscript. I'm getting ready to put the manuscript to bed, and I'm looking for publishers right now, so hopefully it'll be out by next year. This next poem is called Hoofs Drifting Over Grass, and it commemorates the last time I went deer hunting with my grandparents. Hoofs drifting over grass. November night in small town Cuba, warm cabin in lieu of chilly canvas, bedroll laid out. I sleep below my grandparents' motel bed. A sudden 3 a.m. request. Fro'o, let's go, she says. I sip coffee and scurry by the kitchenette stove. Grandpa's warming the truck up. On high desert pinon cedared hills, our campfire in dark beaming woods. Bacon, eggs, with bread on the flame. Grandma's fried red chili flakes. Sunrise ashes, bless our rifles. Guide us, mountain lion man, and the mountain lion man within me. Track fearless with patient pursuit. Mid-morning, bedded down in gray leaf briar, a leaping gant of does hurtles through a thick sagebrush draw as fog drifts on thin forest air. My index finger points, but Grandma corrects me with her pointed thumb. My head nods. I use my thumb to shorten the distance between hunter and game. Afternoon, we ride hills after hills across arroyos and valley clearings to a place I caught my deer the previous open season. I hike to an overlooking mesa top. Grandpa walks to the dry creek. Close by the truck, Grandma prowls with her red scarf over her head. I scout towards the large oak grove as quick sounds of leaves crush and crunch. I crouch down. My eyes focus on swift hoofs drifting across the grass. My head turns. I hear, woo! I sprint towards the mesa cliff ledge. Grandma's hands raised sideways by her ears. She yells, Mame wa gacha, shetsuk duewa. She peels an orange while her rifle leans on the rock. The buck runs to the mesa bottom and pauses within Grandma's range. She grabs her gun. Her finger pulls the trigger. Her rifle clicks and jams as the mule's deer's ears twitch. The buck bolts off like a field missile. She lowers her one chance, wishing. We return to Grandpa's faded maroon pickup. Grandma sighs and says, Gaika, Gaika, all the way home, Gaika. Grandpa tells her, you're always saying, Iyo, Gushanats. It's cold, I'm cold. That's why you didn't catch your deer. The following year, my grandparents both said it was too cold for them to go hunting. I brought back a buck for my Grandma Linda and cherished the last time we went together. This next poem is called Deer's Breath of Every Color. Winter rises southeast. Deer gnaw withered apples as morning star fades above Indigo Canyon. Concealed in tall feather grass, mountain lion nestles, his tan body mesmerized like a stone fetish. Sun blazes amber rays, snow powders the deer trail. A hunter whispers through mist his flowered prayer. Mukaich, hashte, mishkayo, gumatsani. Mountain lion man, it's already morning. Help me. Climbing Hawk Mountain through blue juniper terrain, mountain lion leaps, an arrow blessed with pollen. Winter sets southwest. Deer in shadow-tinged purple enters spruce treehouse on his breath of every color. One of my friends brought his niece. She was 4 years old and she's never been to the deer dances in Laguna. And so just seeing her first time, the excitement, I wrote this poem. Her name was Delasia, and this poem is called Delasia's Necklace. We enter to the sounds of bells. The hall's warmth evokes an imprint of my small self, standing by my grandparents. Their presence I sense in their presence I sense in drums and singers' voices. Collective breath of all colors hovers above the leaping herd. Eagle and hawk feathers adorn the deer dancer's rhythmic scent. Forest evergreen, damp earth. Delasia puts her hand in mine. The seated crowd hinders her view. I lift her above the masses, a butterfly beyond reach. Her irises bloom to the choir and drum beats rumbling nearby snowflakes. I set her among the gold straw flecks glistening on the mud-plastered floor. Her body sways back and forth. She stands on tiptoe to see over the crowd. A charcoal-faced hunter in camouflage shirt and jeans trots towards the small child. He places a coral bead necklace over her head as she smiles at her new delight. This next poem I'm going to read is actually a visual poetic poem that I wrote for the School of Advanced Research Grounded in Clay exhibit. They have a large pottery that came from my village. This is probably 18th century, 19th century, around that time frame. The potter lived in the same village I live in, and so this pot has 6 deers on it, but it was so intrinsic and it caught my eye that I had to write this poem. And I look inside the pots and I meditate, and they talk to me and tell me their story through the designs on the pot. So this poem is called Flowers in the Deer's House. Painted black line encircles damp earth oya, opening a subtle path to skyward realms. As cirrus clouds spiral nearby rainbows, light and shadow crosshatch distant rains. Sound of shock waves slice like knives. Thunder to arouse Tsitrui. The horned water serpent ribbons through winds of red leaves and feathers, while rainbirds stream into dark caverns. Water streaks down a stalactite as she applies a stroke of black paint to the slipped white clay surface. With curves, hooks, and pointed beaks, she bends willow to form a hoop, a drumstick tied with yucca fiber. Sonic voice of water drum ripples as buds of mandalora and dahlia bloom on adobe walls and floors. Outside the house of fluorescence, burnished moon of ancient pursuit halos night sky when stellar trail glistens north. Cosmic starflower guides her journey to a trio of bucks standing silent in the deer's home at winter solstice. As she sketches the eyes of the deer, she whispers a blessing of fortuity to enhance her man's chances of game. From mouth to slender neck to mid-body, she paints reddish brown line to an arrow-tipped heart above a belly of beya. She exhales as she exits the opening of thoughts and prayers infused on clay, prosperous hunt, abundant rain, long life. Unfired masterpiece nestles in her lap. She lays her yucca brush aside to rest and daydreams of her distant relatives. Her fingers roll the silver pearl necklace she wears night and day, a gift from her father when her mother returned to Laguna. In the days of horse and wagon trails, a child from the Zuni Coyote clan, she cherishes designs from her father's kin. Into the fired Grand Oya she pours cascades of blue from bear grass baskets, storing shelled corn for winter sustenance. This next poem contributes to the youth and just to carry on our Pueblo traditions and our culture, to encourage them to continue, working with the clay and our arts. This is called Clay Expressions. Hand down part of ourselves here on Nyahatsi, Mother Earth. Potter's continuance, journey with collective coil. White ipsja, slip, damp, burnish like snow on clay. Nourish our Pueblo people with communal spoken thoughts. Clay woman matriarch molds potter's hands. Stone expression weathers time. Our creativity blessing, enduring tranquility. Rise up, fellow potters, bestow this gift on our youth. Instill your artistic passions towards our precious children. Amo iarch demishe, so this gift may never end. Pueblo youth now, generations forward, may sustain the legacy, our ancestors' vision. This next poem is called Convergence of Clay, and I also wrote this poem about a dough bowl that is in the collection at the Wilczek Foundation in New York City. And we're in conjunction with Grounded in Clay exhibit. And this dough bowl followed me throughout my career as a potter. I'd see it at different museums and galleries. And I happened to see it since it was in the collection at the Wilczek Foundation, I was able to write a poem about it. And so this is called Convergence of Clay. I see you in a pottery book with the maroon cactus petals. I long to inhale your verserosity and hold you in my palms. I see you at Mountain Star Gallery. Your vines curl in waves of faded beauty. If I knew where you came from, I would take you there. I see you in a headdress, 7 red-tipped feathers of sunrise and sunset. I adore your resilient design on vintage skin. I see you at a gallery, your seasoned interior of vermilion and beige reveal a footprint from infinite recipe blends. I see you at the Denver Public Library, sitting on top a bookshelf. The elevated stance displays your symmetry like a regal crest. I see your reflections in a pond as bees caress your honeycomb. A flight of stairs ascends on your painted cloud blanket motif. I see you're in another book of Pueblo treasures. The portrait captures a glimpse of your durable longevity. I don't see you for over a decade until I thumb through a file of photos as your image entices my potter's eyes. I know I'll see you when I request your presence in Santa Fe. Your flight from New York lands before the lockdown. After a postponed year, I see your chaffed mask of antiquity. My hands embrace your rare and vigorous shape. I see you don't have a distinct spirit line. I'll select a place to cross your threshold of earthenware permanence. I see your dough rising for the adobe bread oven, your generous tasks of mixing, sifting, and storing food for feast days and dances. I see your matriarch stirring blue corn mush for matzini, paper bread. Her fingers slide batter from your bowl onto a flat stone griddle. I see her filling your deep bowl with apples from the orchard, the last harvest you'll see prior to leaving your birthplace. I see you wore a kitchen heirloom, lonesome for your home. Amot yuni, haita, dashraneshdea. My compassion for you, pottery, where have you been? These next couple poems I wrote right around when COVID hit, so it was kind of that distinct time where everybody we can't forget that period that happened within our lifetimes. So these poems kind of brought back this sort of like closure, but at the same time this unfamiliarity of what was going on in our lives. So this is called Influx Reservation Lockdown. Turquoise skies blindfold horizon, black sash belt morning, half-filled coffee cup with cream, pool stick lingers by bar stool, cascading stacks of eggshells crackle on cedar in smoking firebox. She pinches clay finger bowls, painted cloud designer dreams, adobe coyotes ruling class, finger points till arm goes numb. Arriving at herbal OSHA bombs, airplane touches down on stained glass. Red-eyed flight on Tiffany runway, pilot shakes moccasin rattle. Jingle-dressed dancers revive health through aisles of canceled powwows. Distant squash blossom phone calls from shooting star ribbon elders wearing coral silver bead necklaces. They string bows with damp suet. Dove plumes flutter on warm breeze, a cellular prayer without towers. He tosses corn husks over bridge by floating eagle carcass. Waterfall trickles through driftwood, skeletons of cholla cactus. Arroyo Creek walls, what stifles the laughter of an enemy? Pottery shards crushed to sand, baby blanket sifts, uranium bones. Village of dayrise and sunfall, framed in a field of tall wheat. Windows of abandoned bodies, ladder, electric ventilators. His concealed rest departs the dweller. This next poem is called Below the Altered Web. She furnishes a map. She furnishes a match for firebird to swallow. Ash plumes rekindle coals from a strike on a box. She inhales myrrh vapors on solar winds, like coyote chasing after star clusters, past tarantula nebulas, outskirt shadows. Coyote formulates a plan below the altered web. His black-tipped tail swings through light years. Kajuras diffuse in the spiral galaxy. She discovers a cosmic landscape born from chimney swifts navigating north. This next poem is a commemoration for all the grinding stones that the clan women would use. They're before grinding stones, from coarse all the way to extra fine when they would grind corn and wheat. And the ladies would sing songs. Also, the men would sing songs for the women as they grind. A lot of that is gone away. A lot of the songs have disappeared. There are still a few, and it's not as commonplace anymore like it used to be. And this poem commemorates and gives hope to the grinding stone and the energy and the power that's inside it from being sun to the stone shaped by sun. Only once at dawn I unearthed a grinding stone beneath a dirt floor at the old horse corral. She sang Ya'ana clan songs when there were those songs in the field now barren and bursting with tumbleweeds, the land parched as potted polenta or peeled paint, her skin black lava, her hair shelled white corn, her body curved like a half-moon crescent, her face rounded smooth had thinned from where like sand the oceans washed ashore in the rise and fall of tide. A Hawaiian black sand beach, the flavor of salt woman, red seaweed and slender green. Shitrani yucca, heirloom corn seed planted on a warm autumn day. Sprouts then fades as songs wither into stillness, or bushes of sumac berries in the abandoned field. Red fruit the deer devour, tart and tangy like hibiscus lemon tea. A mist arises when the stone recalls the clan woman's voices. Singing her songs, she remembers the rhythmic milling sound of mano and matate. She craves cornmeal and ground wheat. She cherishes the last song sung to her. She hums forgotten tones. I lift her up and say, "Come home with me. Rest in Cusco's garden. Sing with me." Get back to my first book. I'd like to read a poem called Ode to Radio Rose. I had a good friend that I met in college, and she passed away from pancreatic cancer. And she used to be a DJ for Singing Wire. There was a program, still a program here in Albuquerque on Sundays that they play Indian songs, and they have shout outs. And so she used to be one of the DJs, and I wrote this poem the year I graduated at UNM in 2010. That's when she passed away. So this poem is called Ode to Radio Rose. On Sunday afternoon, I sat down and listened to 89.9 FM's Singing Wire program. The dedication that day was in honor of Rose Ebom. She was a DJ on the show for over 10 years. Rose was my longtime friend since the fall of 1984. I first met Rose in class at Albuquerque TVI when she was my lab partner in digital applications. We both ran in TVI's Runner Club. Our friendship flourished over the years. We always bumped into one another at malls, feasts, fairs, art shows, bike rallies, and powwows. I could always count on Rose to make it to some reception dinner I was having, like Poati Feast, my wedding, my son's birthdays, and most recently, my mom's birthday banquet. I always gave her some outside oven bread before she left. Even after 2008 Santa Fe Indian Market, Rose stopped by my booth and we planned where to go for dinner. We ended up at Red Lobster with Don, Debbie, and Norvin. She knew how to make you laugh, but best of all, Rose knew how to be a dear friend. Excuse me. Hearing the sad news, Norvin said, we lost our Rose, Radio Rose. Now I long for your reception. Dear friend, no more on the station. Rose on the air, Radio Rose, Rose of my reception. Encouraging Rose, we ran together for our causes. Your stride always kept us going. We danced and laughed at Yo's wedding. Rose on the air, Radio Rose, Rose of my reception. Reassuring Rose, you brought us new friends. Bring us together now. Broadcast your love to our people. Rose on the air, Radio Rose, Rose of my reception. Leaving when roses first bloomed, traveling transmission lines. Hear me, Rose, a shout out to you. Tuning in your voice, Rose on the air, Radio Rose, the rose of my infinite reception. Here's a picture of Rose, you can see it right there in the book. So I'll go ahead and finish with a couple, two more poems I'll read. And this next poem, I was at a poetry workshop in Portal, Arizona, and I couldn't get a hold of my mom. She wouldn't answer her phone, and it was right during that same week in March 2020 when we got locked down, and I thought something happened to her, and I was talking to some other poets, and so this poem came out of that workshop. It's called Sky Island. Why doesn't she ride a wheel? Gila monster, hissing ants, tossing 2 cubed granite crystals, coated with mud tracks. Eldest sister of Turkey clan, a ceremonial coiling of clay. We're migrating, soaring towards a sky island. She lifts his black braids on pine sap, streaming in rainstorm, wailing. She ties 4 white duck feathers and forms them into a lightning bolt. Flashing through sea deserts in the hail, they trail a deer to levitate a new song. Green yucca, what is it like to paint a mask? He plants her before spring thaw, wrapped in a Pendleton blanket. His sorrow sinks the earth. The last poem I read, during the time I was working on my master's degree at Institute of American Indian Arts, we had to write 5 poems a week, and I got invited to my friend's birthday party, but my truck broke down. So I ended up writing her a poem for her birthday present. So this poem is called Bessie's Transmission for Kathleen Wall. If only we had lit up the candles on your cake. If only I could hear your party of mud song. If only I could have a cheerful toast to let this bliss dashboard like a bluebird. If only we weren't in the fall kiss of your water-clad summer. If only we didn't have to dry our clay pots and never sand away. If only Mama Fanny could still braid your pigtails tighter than tight. If only we could finish a pottery mask that whispers global warming. If only your clay clowns could text and eat watermelon at the same time. If only I could hear you sing Happy Birthday, Mr. President, and shout, Impeach, 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 while impersonating Marilyn Monroe standing above a subway vent. If only you had shouted, Isn't it delicious? If only you had taught me to make Hamus enchiladas. If only you could be next year's native treasure. If only the transmission lines, if only the transmission wasn't in the shop. If only roads could diffuse the distance. We could have danced even after the crowd left. If only I could have wished you a long life and drove back to Laguna with a bluebird behind the wheel. Thank you for listening. Kawae. Shkunama.
Oh, Max, thank you so much. That was just absolutely beautiful. I've read your poems on the paper, but to hear your voice reading your poetry, they're all now forever changed in my head. Now there will be only your voice in my head when I'm able to read your poems, and I'm so grateful for that.
Good to hear.
Could you tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming a poet? How did this happen in your life?
Um, Actually, I was a field service engineer at Intel for a good many years, and I decided to go back to school, and I was going to become an attorney. And basically, I was taking some pre-law classes, and then my sophomore year, I took my first fiction class, and then I liked just writing about stories, and then just knowing that I needed to put down on paper some of the family tales and things that needed to be written that I felt had to be shared with the community and all around. And so when I took my first poetry class, my instructor came up to me at the end of the semester in May and said they're looking for a Native American writer for the Taos Writer Conference. And so I applied, I got the scholarship. And so I changed my major from pre-law to creative writing that fall, which my advisor wasn't too thrilled about. It's like, what kind of job are you going to get as a writer? He said, well, I could be the next Leslie Silko Marmon. So, so I went ahead and changed my major to creative writing and went from there. And then, but after my bachelor's degree, my undergrad, I was a good prose writer, but I needed more paint to my palette. So that's when I went back to school for my master's and got my master's in creative writing in 2020.
So how did you make the transition from prose to poetry?
Yeah,
Or are they the same thing?
that was kind of tough when I first started my cohorts in class. Main thing they always would tell me, Max, don't tell, show. It's like, okay, well, how do you show and not and instead of telling? So basically,
Interesting.
it's that craft of learning how to describe your words, where you try to make every word have a meaning, cut out some prepositions, articles, try to limit your usage of adverbs, and so each sentence has to stand on its own. Plus, you want to use active verbs to where you're putting those images in the reader's mind or in the audience mind. So when you speak those words, they actually transpose across. So everybody, when you talk about my grandmother, then you think about your own grandmother. But it was a little bit of a struggle for me to begin with. But once I got on the right track, I was able to tell. I was able to show and not tell.
That's a wonderful way to put it. You've mentioned the workshop process a couple times. First, when we were just chatting, and then a little bit ago, as you were talking about developing some of the poems that you read. What is that like? What is a poetry workshopping process like for the development of your poems?
Basically, it's a group of poets get together, and this next week we'll each submit 3 poems, and then the other poets will be about 5 or 6 of us plus one of the faculty, and so everybody you read your poem, somebody else reads it, and then from there it's basically criticism, but it's constructive criticism. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. So when you first go in a poetry class, that's the hardest thing to do is like, that's my poem, you're tearing it apart, and just it's kind of like that. But when I first started writing after my bachelor's, I could write a good poem in like 3 days, but now it might take me 3 weeks because it's similar to painting pottery or creating a vessel because you have the rough draft, which is like the clay, and then from there you have to sand the pot, so you have layers. So basically, you have your rough draft and your next draft. So you just keep working on that poem till you polish it and it comes out with the brilliance of. So it's a work in progress, but that's where that analogy comes from.
Like that. It's wonderful. So, as we know, you are also a potter in addition to a poet. But it sounds like maybe there's some connections between your art as a potter and your art as a poet.
Yes, yeah, I've been doing the Santa Fe Indian Market since 1994, so I'll be there this year again. My booth is 239 South Palace. So if anybody is out there in Santa Fe, stop by my booth and I'll read you a poem or show you a pot that I'm working on. Um, yeah, I first started off as a potter, and now I've been working with several museums across the United States. School of Advanced Research, the Young Museum, Chicago Field Museum, and most recently, Shelburne Museum in Vermont. And what I've been doing is looking at the ancestral potteries from my pueblo and regional pueblos, and I look at the designs on the pots, and then through visual poetics, and I write poems for these pots. So basically, it's a slow task, but at the same time, I try to pull out the essence of what the pot is speaking for us to hear.
It's beautiful. We have some pictures of some pots here that I'm going to go ahead and put up here, and maybe oops, let me there we go. Maybe there's some things. We have quite a number of pictures, so let me know when you'd like me to advance to the next picture. But if there's
Okay,
anything you'd like to share with us, that would be wonderful.
this is a wedding vase and it has two sunflowers on it, so it's just love in full bloom.
Oh,
And there's a braid across, so it's a two-tone uh, pot. So you see the coil how it's wrapped together, the bride and groom, so they both drink from the spouts.
that's gorgeous. That's just beautiful. Do the next one.
So a lot of the pottery has um, like essences of water, symbolism that are prayer for rain, prayer for moisture. So you'll see birds, rain, clouds, lightning. So this piece is a canteen called Spuna. So you have like a flower design bursting out, almost like how you see that first bloom of like a squash plant in the beginning of summer. That's that essence of moisture, and that we will always never be in drought.
Gorgeous.
There's another wedding vase, and it has two bands on it, so that represents the rainbow, and then it has like a floral design on this one.
It's gorgeous. It looks like the braids are kind of different shades of color
Yeah, there's
coming
two
from the
tone,
spouts.
one for the
Oh,
bride, one for the groom.
that's lovely.
This is one of my larger Oyas. It's probably about 12 inches tall and wide, so it has like a rainbird design on there. So when you see a lot of lines, that represents rain. Also could be the moist. So on the bottom of the pot, where you see the red bottom, that represents the earth. And so there's a line that's the horizon, and then all above that is the sky. And then towards the shoulder and the necks, that's where the rain spirits and reside up in the universe, the upper heavens.
Beautiful. Wow.
So what I started doing, this piece is at the Chicago Field Museum in their exhibit, Native Truths, and I wrote a poem about this pot, but it was also in conjunction with a pottery that I was studying from the 1800s, and so I took that design and kind of did a sort of like a tribute to a potter that was from my pueblo, and so they have this pot sitting next to the ancestral pot in the exhibit.
Is there much known about the original potter?
Somewhat is, but they didn't sign their pottery back then, so they kind of know who made it, but then they don't know like the details of who the person was. But his name was Aurora Roach, and he was a potter, a man potter who became a woman. So he was crossed over, and so he took on a life of servitude, basically, helping the ladies in the village. But that was how he lived the rest of his life,
Wow, what a
or
wonderful
how
piece.
how she lived the rest of her life.
Yeah, amazing, beautiful piece. How
Thank
wonderful to have them side by side.
you. You can see the water, those two big drops of water coming down, so that when it
Mhm.
starts to rain. So those are rainbirds, and then you have the fog coming up underneath, and then there's like a flower, and also like when you see from a distance the almost like the Virga coming over the clouds.
Oh,
And you can see that streak of rain coming through, and that's where the rain clouds are moving towards us.
ah, it's absolutely gorgeous. Oh, wow.
So this is my nativity, Pueblo version of the nativity. So my clans are Turkey on my mother's side and Bear on my father's side. So I have a mother bear and a cub, uh, and have the turkey, and then have a buck and a doe there. And I was out deer hunting. And I saw a deer with her paw crossed over, sitting in the field. So I made it. And then you have the three wise men, and with the gifts, pottery, a bowl of corn, and a drum, and they're singing to the baby. And so Joseph has a canteen, and then Mary's kneeling down on in front of a baby Jesus, and then there's a outside oven there too also.
Oh, it's just lovely. Oh, they look happy.
They're all singing in unison.
Very happy. I love the turkey. So sweet.
Ah,
Just beautiful.
so what I started doing now too is with some of my pots you'll see at Indian Market is I write a poem first, and then I put the design on the poem. So I didn't read this poem today, but I can read it to you now, and you'll see some of the imagery on the pot. It's called Earthen Desires. So sometimes I have a pot that just sits in the cabinet waiting to be painted, and so it's yearning to become a pottery, going from clay to stone. So this poem's called Earthen Desires, and it says, a lint-covered clay vessel hides inside the china cabinet, anxious for her slipware. Potter's hands lifts her out. His breath, a rush of wind, frees her from dust and inertia. Warm, slick riverstone lines, hand caresses burnish sway, the potter's gradual pace. And then on the other side of it's like a clay tablet. There's three more stanzas on the other side. But some of the imagery on the pot reflects on the poem.
Pottery and poetry all
Yeah,
together.
yeah,
That's wonderful. I've never.
this poem will be displayed at the Maxwell Museum.
Okay.
It's sort of a sneak preview, I guess, with their
Thank you.
next year they'll be having a pottery exhibit, 2026. I think it's supposed to open in the summer or the fall. So you'll see this pot on display there at the University of New Mexico. So
Oh, Max, that's amazing. The pottery and its poem. I've never seen anything like it. This must
yeah,
be absolutely unique.
I call it poetry.
Perfect. Uh,
And this is a canteen, so you have the four directions and the clouds all coming together to make it rain, and then also the outer rim there. You see the it's like a sunflower, but it's in the shape of like a squash too. So you can it was quite large. You could like pick it up and drink from it. So the men used to carry the canteens with them when they go out to the cornfields, and they would use a corn cob as a stopper. So they would drink from the canteens to carry their
Corn
water.
cob is the stopper. I have not heard that. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Oh, look at that.
And
Wow.
this is another canteen. It's and the turkey is emerging out of the canteen, and we have a little saying in Laguna, like when you hear the thunder and lightning, then you're supposed to pull on your hair, and they say that turkeys are pulling on your hair to make your hair grow longer. So that's part of that. Good thing my phone didn't ring while I was doing my reading.
I always think that's going to happen. Oh, that turkey is amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, let's see what else have we got here. Oh, that's beautiful.
And this one is there's rainbirds on the, and you see the different colors of corn in the fields. So on top you have like the sun rays coming through, and then the corn plants growing.
Oh, oh, another little
There's a
bird.
hungry bird just kind of balancing off of a branch, trying to balancing off, trying to grab a berry. And then on the side of the pot, there's the sun symbol there, so it's sort of a bold design.
It's lovely. Oh, wow.
And this is they call this two parrots that share one heart in the belly of the pot. So I have a poem about the wedding vase, and so it kind of shows the union of love in full bloom.
Beautiful. Oh, wow.
There's two quails, kind of similar motif. I made this pot for a friend of mine from England when she got married. So they actually both drank from the vessel, and so she still has her wedding vase at home.
Oh, yep, and I think that's it.
Oh, great!
Oh, Max, we actually one of our viewers, after looking at all of this, asks what galleries represent you for your pottery. It's absolutely beautiful.
Um, Usually have my work at King's Gallery in Santa Fe. Haven't been over there, so I'm not too sure if they have any of my recent pieces, but I plan on taking some over there. And then let's see, that's about it for now. That just that one gallery.
And then, of course, at the market.
Yes.
So,
Then I also do the Herd Indian Fair and Market in Phoenix in the springtime. It's usually the first weekend of March.
oh. Hmm. Well, there's some wonderful compliments in the chat, including we love turkeys. We all love turkeys in this crowd. So, but oh, we're a little bit over time, so I want to be respectful of your time. Thank you so much, Max. That was absolutely incredible. One of the most unique presentations we have ever had, I think, in our webinar series, and I'm just so grateful for you sharing your poetry and your art and your heart with us today.
Thank you very much, Liz. It was a pleasure, and thank you for the invite, and hope everybody has a great weekend.
You too. Safe travels to New York and have a wonderful time.
Thank you. All right. Take care.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.